Hey guys, Doom here. Got some Wildgate info. Now, I'm going to start off with talking about what they're going to put in the game, what they're doing, and then I'm going to talk about my opinions about it so that I don't get too caught up in everything that they're adding. So, they're obviously going to be adding more content on their bi-weekly reach anomalies. They're going to be adjusting regional prices, which need to be done. They're doing a Steam sale, so the game is $20 right now for this week. So, if you haven't gotten the game yet, it's $20 instead of 30, roughly. I mean, regional prices differ everywhere, but they're giving 1,200 credits to everybody for free. So log into the game, you have 1,200 credits to go buy some cosmetics, and versus AI grants XP. So if you're just starting the game off and you want to get some equipment, you want to get some prospector equipment, some different guns, you want to unlock the other ships, the other characters, you can do that in versus AI. So those first three parts of every reward track, which are all free and going to stay free, by the way, are characters, guns, and ships. So versus AI should allow you to unlock that before you go jump in and play with actual people. In the future here, they're going to be targeting some sales for PS5 and Xbox, because currently it's only a Steam sale. They're going to be adding more difficulty settings to versus AI mode. They're going to be adding daily missions for pre-made crews, and they're going to be adding weekly missions to earn credits. A reminder, the credits are that's their premium currency you can spend real money on that buys cosmetics, and that's all it buys is cosmetics and emotes and things like that. They're going to be adding more reach anomalies, more variety, more balance. This was mentioned in their Discord. The balance and whatnot was mentioned maybe early September. They're looking into a free trial for the game, and they're looking to add infamy leaderboards that are going to be like a web-based, like a website you can go to and see infamy leaderboards. And if we seem to really like it, they talked about adding it as a in-game thing. I think that's cool. We're going to have loadout changing in the Lucky Docks, which is another one, because Lucky Docks is basically a hidden loading screen. They mentioned this in their Discord as well. Being able to change your loadout there would be very nice, because usually you're stuck there for a minute and 15 seconds, plus the time it takes for the timer to start, sometimes a minute and a half. It would be nice if, oh no, I brought the wrong character, or wait, I'll actually play sale instead, and people could just swap around. And then later in the year, they're going to be adding, more content, adventure track, prospectors, weapons, cosmetics, custom lobbies, more seasons of the game, and supposedly more things to competitive play. Now, let's start off with the good. Steam sale is good. It will get more people into the game. Steam charts is not looking great for the game. They have less than 1,000 concurrent players daily right now on Steam. That is not a lot. They only started at about 7K, which is very concerning, because there was something like 350 to 500,000 wishlists on Steam, and it did not sell that well, clearly, because the player base is fairly small. The sale still helps, but I feel like it's more of a temporary stopgap, because there are other PvP games of different genres, and the barrier to entry for PvP games is the fact that you're going into a PvP game, there's the potential you're going to get your crap wrecked by somebody who's better than you. So they do things like bot matches as a start. They do things like making the game free to play, because that reduces the barrier to entry. So the versus AI giving XP is good for Wildgate, and it's good because it's also optional. There's nothing more frustrating than a competitively capable player joining a new game and then being forced into bot matches against their will. People do not want to play bots unless they are intentionally trying to play bots to fiddle with their settings, unlock some very basic equipment, or, just understand the core basics of the game. And the tutorial for Wildgate is pretty good, but it doesn't really teach you any of the flow of the game. A lot of these things that are flow of the game in Wildgate are going to be extremely hard to learn, because they're easier to learn in a communicative group where you're able to get on comms and say, well, I've probed green, he's doing this small POI, he is done with it, or, these two ships are fighting over here, or I have baited these two ships into a fight by probing them with fireworks. There's so many nuanced, things you could change, or I think this person is headed towards us because they've turned towards us and immediately took their shields off after their probe saw us. These things don't get translated well when people are off comms, and most people don't want to play on comms. No amount of tutorial is going to be able to teach game sense. That's one of the reasons why I feel like there's such a skill gap in this game between a brand new player and a veteran crew on comms. The credit reward is nice, but once again, I feel like it's more of a they say it is a thank you, I feel like it is more of a please stay statement, because it doesn't solve any of the problems that I'm going to talk about afterwards. The balance coming later is good, but it's not just balance that needs to be tweaked. There needs to be a bigger tool set in the game for new players. Right now, boarding is king, and there are definitely moments where people can say, well, it's not always king. If you pay attention, you can kill the ship before it gets you. Yes, the ship combat is in a great state in the game. It is in an excellent state. In my opinion, I think ship combat is where it needs to be right now in the game. I think that there is just good ship layouts and good ship health amounts and good ship damage between all the different ship types. And the Scout obviously having its speed gives it more border viability. But boarding right now will shut down new players, and they don't have many defensive options. So you're looking at, for defensive options, your ship, you can be aware. You can shoot the people before they come on your ship while you have your shields up. If you can have your shields up, you can shoot out of it. So you can shoot them with a MK2 rifle, you can shoot them with a beam rifle. You can play Samo if they're on your ship, but Samo was nerfed to really only see people on his ship once they're already on it. So anyone who has any awareness does not need to play Samo, because they already can hear the enemy on their ship, or they have a security system that's beeping like crazy. So Samo's not as powerful as he should be. I mean, he does get all of his health back on kill, but Samo is completely shoehorned into being on his ship to get any of his benefits. Otherwise, he's just a base character with 120 or 20 health. You could play Moffs defensively with cloaking, and that allows you to rapidly cloak on your ship and look for boarders and fight them. But once again, that comes down to player skill. You know, you're reduced health. You're invisible, but you have reduced health, so you better aim faster. So you see a lot of Moffs run around Sonic Boom on defense. And then you have Sensor Trap and Shock Field. Now, Sensor Traps are easy to see, easy to spot. They're often put in high-traffic areas like free, unlocked doors. So veteran players will look down, shoot one shot on the floor, and then they'll move in. The Sensor Trap effectively does nothing. So my proposal to that would be make them cloaked or make them more durable. The fact that they can instantly be blasted with a singular bullet means they are a trivial level defensive threat. So throw that out the window. Now, almost all of anti-border defense has been put into exclusively Shock Field in the game. So the Shock Field, when activated, electrocutes everyone on the outside of your ship with damage over time, and it stays active for, I can't remember if it's 6 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever, but it has 25% upkeep, meaning if you have 4 of them, your ship can be electrified non-stop if you press those buttons. Now, there's not a lot of counterplay to it, because yes, you can shoot it with a ship cannon, you can hit it with a drill charge, you can wait until it ends, but the more shock fields there are, it means you'd have to take out multiple shock fields with drill charges or ion, or ship cannons, or star lances, and if they're placed at the front of a ship you're chasing, you can't get to the front of the ship unless you have a turbine or Adrian flying past it. It makes it very, very difficult, and the problem with the anti-border meta is it's all resting on shock field right now, so the person who gets shock field is able to survive the boarding. This is a problem because there is a lack of defensive tools for the prospectors in their equipment and in the loot pool. Obviously, awareness and player skill wins every time. So a crew that is better at FPS games, a crew that is better at communicating, will almost always come into your ship and win that fight, and that is what is happening in the new player experience. They're getting slaughtered by boarders. And giving them information helps, like giving them information from Venture or giving them information from Samo's detection helps, but the reality is they're going to lose that FPS fight, and it's really a shame because the ship gameplay is so good right now in the game. I love the ship gameplay. I love how the ship gameplay and the shield panels and everything from outside of ship to outside of ship plays. But right now, putting pressure with boarding is way more effective, and most veteran crews are going to go inside your ship, use drills to kill your engine in one shot. They're going to board your ship and overload it. They're going to kill you, rip your shields off. And there's definitely a place for that, but there needs to be more tools to slow people down. So regarding balance, I feel like there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and changing things balance-wise in the game can only go so far because they launched the game with an offensively loaded toolset. They need to provide more options for players to survive. Now, myself, I played a lot in the first month. I can't remember, 600 or 700 infamy or something. And I haven't played much in the second month. I'm somewhere around 300 infamy, but I'm posting out my videos and I'm playing a lot of Helldivers. But what I see is, more often than not, is major matchmaking challenges. First off, when I play the game, and I'm let's just say where I'm at right now for my current crew level. We're 300 infamy. We're a pre-made 4-stack. We come up against new players. And multiple new player crews that are bronze rated, no infamy listed, maybe a few wins, and you see this often where we're the only crew with infamy. The reality is, if I have 300 infamy, I should be seeing all crews with infamy. I should be seeing 100 infamy. I should be seeing 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. That's the kind of stuff I should be seeing if I'm playing. Now, I understand slotting infamy is optional, but you get the general gist of it. I shouldn't be seeing brand new players. I should be seeing people more at my player level. Now, there's two reasons why that isn't the case. Is one, the game is new. It has only been a month, so players aren't going to have infamy slotted. They're not going to have player levels. They just got the game. The game just came out in the grand scheme of things. Secondly, there's not enough players to seed those varied skill levels. And this goes back to the old discussion of why I feel like the price adjustments are on Steam sales and sales on PS5 and Xbox are only temporary stopgaps. Players want to play the game. They wishlisted the game immensely on Steam. They don't want to pay for a PvP game because the risk of playing a PvP game and being bad at it, not liking it, and getting frustrated and quitting it is very high. And you're seeing exactly what happens in that scenario right now. People are playing the game. They're getting frustrated. They're saying, I lost 7 games in a row. They leave a negative Steam review and they leave. Now, the vast majority of Steam reviews are positive. Most people do like the game. There is a good game there. But they need to seed more people into the game. Free trials and sales are great, but I'll be very honest, I think this game should have been free to play from the start. And I am definitely wrong on that. I thought it would have been fine at a $30 game, because as someone who's bought a lot of games, I thought a $30 price point was totally fine. Now, I will say, I was not happy with how the store was laid out, with currency values that are offset from the cosmetic prices and paid reward tracks down the road. Because it's like you're trying to milk the whales of a game, but you haven't built the base of the game, and you haven't built a robust enough player base for the whales of said paid game to actually play. Because in a situation where the cosmetics are expensive, reward tracks cost money, and the game costs money, it's like the whales are funding the game, and the players are the content. And this is why free-to-play games often see high cosmetic prices, but low barriers to entry, so the people who do spend money are the ones to actually uphold the game. And you see this a lot, like, actually, read into some of the stuff about StarCraft and World of Warcraft, how some of the cosmetics from StarCraft actually made, StarCraft 2, actually, made more money than the base game they were selling. Or the horse armor from frickin' Oblivion and mounts from World of Warcraft that make more money than the subscriptions or the base game. This is a real thing that actually happens. When you make the barrier to entry cheaper, it definitely gets better. Now, I understand those are totally different games, so different subscription costs and whatnot. So, what I really want to see is they need to get more people in the game. They need to lower the barrier to entry. They need to get more players so there's a more varied skill set in the matchmaker. And then the matchmaker really needs to change. It needs to change drastically, because I'm here in my Discord. I'm in my community members only Discord, and I see Blagflod. She's playing the game, and she's like, well, I feel like I'm not really going to stand much chance against this. And a 3,200 infamy crew is her enemy crew. She's playing with a new player XP bonus. This person is they have a diamond portrait, so they've gone from bronze to silver to gold to diamond, and they're fighting brand new players still. There needs to be something done about that, and you can only do so much when there's less players, which all cycles back to you have to get more people into the game. People don't want to see the game. They don't want to see it die. They want to see it succeed. They want to see it actually function. So, the fact that the game has a sort of identity crisis, right? So, there is an identity crisis in the game between the casual PvE artifact wins and, flying a ship together a la Sea of Thieves, Safer Seas, a la co-op games, where you'll see wins like that on my channel from, the middle of the Can't Stop Winning series, where I just get the artifact, we clamp jet, we go, we fly off, we win. And then it has this identity where, like, okay, well, it's actually a hyper-competitive Twitch game with, boarding and immense fast-paced FPS combat. And I like the game they built. I like the world, I like the ships, I like the prospectors. What I don't like is the development focus, and I'm an honest person. I'm a very honest person about this. I don't think having a live Twitch tournament and going to have a competitive event in Florida at the launch of your game that doesn't have a following was the correct choice. These are things that you do later down the road once you've established a fan base. And games that don't have established IPs jumping in like they're already hot shit doesn't really mesh well in my head. You needed very solid gameplay and very solid matchmaking to actually build the community up. And what we had was really bad matchmaking, and we had some really egregious balance changes that got tweaked. And there still needs to be more balance, and there still needs to be more defensive content for the game. It started off really rough, and people quickly learned what the meta was when the game first launched. There was every ship was border hell. It just turned into all scouts by the end of the public playtest, and it went into launch. I'd like to see them change a lot of what they do for their thought process. And I even noticed this in the early dev stream. They had a guy come on, and he was at a standing desk, and his microphone wasn't working. And you had somebody extremely passionate, like you had Dustin, who's being extremely passionate. We're all cheering for him. I've got my whole crew from the Can't Stop Winning crew watching this dev podcast before the game launched. And then they bring up this guy who referred to Wildgate as, quote, the product. And he was just a pure marketing guy. And it felt so out of touch and out of focus. And I didn't really understand why they're trying to bring this to the players. This was like, this is a person who should not be a public face of the game. Sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. Because he's using terminology that is professional for his industry. He's not doing anything wrong. But this is not somebody that people want to see on the public face, is to see, progression avenues in the product when they're talking about playing a fun game. Because then that feels like you're not a player playing their game. You're just a consumer to them. Which is a lot of what the pricing feels like with the, we're going to have a game that runs cosmetics and currency systems like a free-to-play game, but also has a flat $30 price tag. The sale makes that a little bit better, and the regional pricing should have been adjusted a long time ago. It was actually really off, where that $30 was not $30 in other countries. It was more like $90 or $120 in some of them, where currency conversions, they do matter. I want to see a complete dev shift into focusing on matchmaking, new player experience, rebalancing the matchmaker, getting more people into the game, and providing more tools for new players and defensive players to counterplay the aggressive meta in the game. Now, I'm not just saying that because that's what kills me, because I'm an average FPS player. So yes, if a good crew comes up and is a better boarding crew, yes, I'm going to get slaughtered. The people in my crew are not expert FPS players. 3 of us are older, 1 guy's just okay, and that's Pete. And then the rest of us, we're getting older, we're not crack shots and never were, and we all met through co-op games. So, Moonshot, I know this is not the best news video, I know this is a giant rant, but in my head I have to wonder, is this enough? I feel like there should be an honest conversation between the frustrations of the community and the developers, and I feel like when you ignore the fact that the game is about pub stomping new players right now, you're ignoring the problems with your game. And the lack of a competitive space for players ends up putting all these new players with the competitive players in the same pool. And the MMR just doesn't work right now. It does not work. And this all circles back to, if you want to have a varied skill user base, you have to have a user base. And my concerns are pretty valid when there are sub 1,000 players on Steam charts. And people can say, well, it doesn't matter, there's still console. Sure. I've seen about 50% of my players in my games be console. Let's say that number is triple. That's still only 3,000 players and dwindling every day. That's a concern. That's a valid concern for a lot of people. And you can say it's Doom posting and whatever, but guess what? My name's Doom. I can say whatever I want regarding that, I suppose. So peace out, guys. I've got Wildgate videos out for the next week. They are all from just before the Relic dropped. I won't get a chance to play the Relic as I'm leaving later today for vacation. But when I get back, I am very curious to see what the sale does for the game and see how things are going. I really wish them best. I feel like they built a great and fun game, but I feel like the higher-up managerial and developer focus is out of touch with what's actually happening with their game. And I would really like to see some major shifts and major changes in the development of this game, and I think that's why it is not flourishing right now. It is just surviving. Peace out, guys. See you guys later.